Hi everyone, this is Cooking with Kurt. Today my husband Donald and I are going to show you how to make a Black Forest roll, which is a smaller roll version of the favorite Black Forest cake.
This is a cherry liqueur moistened chocolate cake roll, so get ready to booze it up. This recipe was requested by a lot of you. Thanks so much for your requests, and we hope you like this video.
We're going to start by making the chocolate sponge, which will get rolled up. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and take a jelly roll pan, which is 10.5 by 15.5 inches, and line it with parchment paper. Do not grease the parchment paper or the pan. Then prepare half a cup of hot brewed coffee. Add in 1/4 cup of unsweetened natural cocoa powder. Stir together till the cocoa powder is fully dissolved, and let this come to room temperature. Then take a big mixing bowl with a sieve. Add in 1 cup of cake flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/3 cup of sugar, and half a teaspoon of salt. Sift this in. Then add in 4 egg yolks, 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and the coffee cocoa mixture from earlier. Beat this together till it's just combined. Next, we're going to make a meringue mixture. In the bowl of your stand mixer, add in 4 room temperature egg whites and half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. Beat them together on high speed till it's nice and frothy. Then slowly add in 1/3 cup of granulated sugar and continue beating this mixture. The meringue mixture is done when you see stiff, glossy peaks. It should look something like this. We're going to slowly add this meringue mixture to the chocolate cake mixture and gently fold it in 1/3 of the meringue mixture at a time till it's well combined. Be sure to really scrape the bottom of the bowl for any unmixed cake mixture. Then pour this into the prepared jelly roll pan and smooth out the top with your spatula. We're going to bake this in our preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 to 18 minutes, or until the surface springs back when gently pressed. To prevent the cake from sticking to the parchment paper, sprinkle some powdered sugar over the cake. Then place a big piece of parchment paper over the cake. Invert the cake onto the parchment paper, lift off the sheet pan, and then peel off the parchment paper the cake was baked with. Cut a 2-inch wide strip of cake off of the short 10.5-inch side. Cut a 1-inch thick strip of cake off the long 15.5-inch side. Set these strips of chocolate cake aside. Now while the cake is still warm, dust some additional powdered sugar onto this other side of cake to prevent it from sticking to itself when rolling. Then using the parchment paper, roll the cake with the parchment paper along the short 10.5-inch side. Making sure that the seam of the cake is down, let it cool to room temperature on a wire rack.
While that's cooling, we're going to work on the cherry filling and whipped cream frosting. Prep 8 ounces, which is about 2 cups of pitted Bing cherries. You can use either fresh or frozen. Today we're using frozen cherries. If you're using frozen cherries, let them thaw completely and pat them dry with paper towels to remove any excess moisture. Roughly chop the cherries and put them in a small bowl. Add in 2 tablespoons of Kirsch, which is a clear, colorless brandy made from cherries.
If you're unable to find Kirsch or Kirschwasser, you can substitute with other unsweetened liqueurs like apple brandy or cherry vodka.
And if you prefer not to add any alcohol to your cake, just add 2 tablespoons of water to the cherries instead. Let it sit at room temperature for 30 minutes, stirring a couple of times. After 30 minutes, drain the cherries in a sieve over a bowl. Keep the chopped cherries and the resulting cherry syrup separate. You should end up with about 1/3 cup of cherry syrup total. Next, we're going to make the Kirsch whipped cream frosting. If you're making this on a hot day, we recommend taking the bowl of your stand mixer and the whisk attachment and putting it in the freezer for 30 minutes so that the heavy cream stays cold and it whips up properly. In the bowl of your stand mixer, add 4 cups of very cold heavy cream and mix with a whisk attachment on high speed until slightly thickened. Stop the mixer and add in 1 cup of powdered sugar, 1 tablespoon cornstarch, and 1 tablespoon of Kirsch, and continue beating on high speed until stiff peaks form. It should look something like this. Store it in the fridge until ready to use. If you prefer not to add any alcohol to the frosting, we recommend substituting the Kirsch with 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract.
By the time we've made the cherry syrup and the Kirsch whipped cream frosting, the cake should have cooled down to room temperature, so we're ready to assemble the cake. Slowly and carefully unroll the cake. Spread the whipped cream frosting on the cake, about 1/4 inches thick, over the entire top surface. Then sprinkle the chopped cherries evenly over the frosting. Then, using the parchment paper as a handle to avoid touching the cake, slowly and carefully roll the cake up again in the same direction it was rolled before, but this time with the cherry and whipped cream filling instead of the parchment paper rolled into it. Transfer the roll onto your serving dish with the seam side down so it doesn't unroll. When the cake is rolled up and on the serving dish, brush the outer surfaces and sides of the cake with the cherry syrup. This will moisten the cake and infuse it with that delicious cherry liqueur flavor. Fill the gaps at the ends of the cake with the whipped cream frosting. Then cover the outer surface of the cake with a thin layer of frosting, about 1/4 inches thick. Remember to leave some frosting to make rosettes at the top of the cake at the end. Rest the cake roll in the fridge for the frosting to firm up a bit. Also place the unused frosting in the fridge. While the cake roll is resting, take a food processor and add in the strips of chocolate sponge cake we had cut earlier, and pulse until you get fine chocolate crumbs. Place a large rectangle of wax paper or parchment paper on your counter to catch crumbs and help with cleanup later. Take the cake roll out of the fridge and press the chocolate crumbles evenly on top and on the sides, all over the cake roll to cover the frosting as much as possible. I like to leave a white strip on top where the rosettes will go, so the rosettes stick to the cake better. Clean off the stray crumbs. Attach an open star tip and transfer about 2 cups of frosting to the piping bag, and pipe 6 big rosettes along the top strip of the roll. Finally, place a maraschino cherry over each rosette. With cake rolls, I prefer to remove the stems from the maraschino cherries. Refrigerate the finished roll for a minimum of 6 hours, but preferably overnight before serving to let the cherry, brandy, and chocolate flavors meld together. And there it is, a Black Forest cake roll. Chocolate sponge cake infused with cherry liqueur and filled with cherries and whipped cream. Ang sarap!
Yum!
I love how moist the cherry brandy makes the chocolate sponge.
And my favorite thing about Black Forest cakes are they're so light and airy, and this one is not too sweet.
Please let us know in the comment section below if you're planning to make this Black Forest cake. Send us pictures of your creations on Facebook and Instagram. The links are below. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Cooking with Kirk.
And don't forget to click on the bell so you get notified when we post new cooking videos. And for our written recipes, check out cookingwithkirk.com.
Maraming salamat!